order at 1 o'clock. So before we start with the agenda additions or anything, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize Annika from Parkland Planning Commission. She has been with us a short time, but it's been very memorable. So we have a couple of gifts for you. So we really appreciate all you do for us. And we're sad to see you go. Just a small book. There you go.
Thank you.
You need that in Calgary because it gets cold there. Oh, it's bad. It is really bad. You know, if you ever decide to come back, there you go. All right. So, agenda additions and approval.
Just the one addition that's on your agenda that was handed to you in red font.
Okay, 6.3, development permit 22059, Baltimore. Everybody's got that in your, everybody's okay with that? Can I get a motion to accept? Is there any other agenda additions? Seeing none, so Mr. Paul McKay. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay. Minutes from our May 25th regular county planning commission. Everybody get a chance to read that? Any questions, concerns, Mr.?
I'll move it.
Okay, Mr. Clark moves that. All those in favor? And that is carried. We'll roll right into, there was no business arising from the minutes, so we'll roll right into the development officer's report.
Chairman, so on page 3 of your package, you have the list of meetings that we've attended over the past few weeks. To date, we've processed 39 applications for the docking and mooring structures, authorization from the county so that landowners can apply for their temporary field authorization from the province. We have 92 active recreational vehicle permits at this time. Some of those are for longer term, some are just temporary, but overall we have 92 showing on our mapping system. We also held 4 public engagements over the past month for our IDP and Southeast Area Structure Plan, which were well attended. Some were more attendance than others, but it was good overall. And in 2021, we had issued 77 permits at this time. This year we're at 55, so we're lagging behind a little bit. In subdivisions, we were at 11 last year and we are at 9 this year. So a little bit of catching up to do, but they're coming in fairly regularly now. So we should be catching up to last year fairly soon here. And that's all.
Okay. Are there any questions for Jacinta? Seeing none, can I get a motion to accept? Mr. Stolberg?
I'll move that motion to approve.
All those in favor? That is carried. Okay. We'll go right into development permits. Since there's nobody here and there's nobody online, or is there?
Online.
Okay, are they part of one of these? So typically what we will do is if we have somebody that is engaging with us, we'll try and do theirs. And do we have somebody?
I think Daryl is the first one on the list. There's 6.1.
Thank you.
Oh, and that would be number 6.3.
I was going to put that on number 6.3 in there.
Daryl was Daryl Plummer.
Oh, actually, it could be 6.1 as well. So we'll have
Okay,
to ask.
so just if he can, Derek, could you ask him? Does anybody know what the other phone number is or who the other phone number is?
They're one of the first.
Okay.
Messages to the
Okay, we're gonna just go in order. That's what we'll do. 6.1, we're gonna go with development permit 22038. Go ahead, Jacinta, who's taking this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the applicant is proposing to build a 720 square foot garage in the front yard of the subject property. This will require a variance to the requirement of the ancillary building being in the rear of the principal building on the lot. So the principal building is at the rear of the lot, and the ancillary building will be closer to the frontage. The 28% variance to the front yard setback is being requested from 25 feet to 18 feet. So section 4312 of the land use bylaw stipulates on a lot in a multi-lot subdivision, a detached ancillary building or any portion thereof shall not be placed within the front yard of a parcel. Variance is to provide for the placement in the front of lot 71, block 2, plan 0522242. Section 23.5 of the bylaw provides the municipal planning commission with the discretion to allow a variance to locate an ancillary building in the front yard. Section 23.3 and 23.4 of the bylaw states the municipal planning commission may allow a variance of any other minimum or maximum development standard in this bylaw. 23.1 of the bylaw stipulates the development authority may decide on a development permit that does not comply with the bylaw if, in the opinion of the municipal planning commission, the proposed development would not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels of land, and the proposed development conforms to the use prescribed in the bylaw. Show on the site plan the location that's proposed for the structure.
Okay, questions, concerns, Mr. Stevens?
My first question is, page number 15, kind of, it doesn't, I'm not sure if it's, cuts off part of it, but is there sufficient room for parking without driving them out onto the street, or is it just garage parking only?
So if you go to, oh, sorry. If you go to page 17, there's another picture of the lot. Unfortunately, it turned out a blurry shot, but it's, you see where the vehicle is parked, and then there's room in front of the house as well. There is a landscaping on the right. So there is it's a large lot. So Darryl is on the line. If you would like to have any questions for him. Can you unmute Darryl? Darryl, are you there?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So we just had a question on whether there was ample space on the front yard to provide for the garage that you're proposing to.
Yeah, I think, with the setback that I'm looking at, and where the garage will be placed, there'll be ample room to park 3 or 4 vehicles in front of the garage, need be without being on the road.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yep.
Any other questions? Mr. Stevens, we're looking for,
I will make the motion that we approve with conditions set out by staff recommendation,
with a 28% variance in the front yard setback
18% variance. And then,
to the front yard,
18 feet.
28%.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is there any other questions from anybody? Mr. Stolberg?
So then, does this go out to the neighboring properties?
Yes.
So they have a say, or?
We have 21 days.
Okay, no, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Go on.
No other questions or concerns? I'm seeing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And opposed? Mr. Grover is opposed. Everybody else is in favor. Okay,
Chairman?
yes.
So the applicant realizes that he has to wait the 21 days before, and that all conditions on the permit have to be met prior to any construction starting.
Right. And
Yeah.
And Daryl, I would just, because you are so close, make sure those pins that go in the ground and your person that is doing that knows very well how important it is to make sure those pins go in the right place, because we've had problems in the past, and I would hate for your project to be one of the problem ones, just because there is such a variance there.
Yeah, no, not a problem at all, like you said, and I was waiting to, obviously need the approval, and no big hurry that I build this in the next 3 weeks or anything like that, so it's all good.
Yeah, measure twice. That's
Yeah.
always a good plan. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to 6.2, 22051. Jacinta again?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this application is for the location of a CCAN in the hamlet of Plaza. But the CCAN size, the applicant contacted me, the size will actually be 8 by 20, not 8 by 12 as stated in the report. And just sections of the bylaw that applies to this is section 80, where any placement of the CCAN in a multi-lot subdivision, a hamlet, or a village or town shall be discretionary use, and the Municipal Planning Commission, in its sole discretion, may approve a development permit for a CCAN on a temporary basis. So section 25 of the bylaw imposes the conditions for a temporary use. And 25.5, the expiration on a temporary basis, a new application is required. So after I've proposed a 5-year period, the applicant would need to reapply.
Any questions or concerns? Mr. Stevens?
How long is the applicant applying for? I'm just reading our bylaw and it says we can approve it on a temporary basis. So I guess my question is, how long does the applicant intend to keep it there?
He didn't specify how long. I was probably more intending to be a permanent installation, but I mean, the bylaw did say that it could be a temporary. I added the 5 years as proposed.
We typically would hand them out for the 5-year program, and then if they wanted it past that, they would have to come in and apply.
5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Neighbors have a chance to comment on that too.
Go ahead.
Any discretionary use application subject to a 21-day appeal.
Mr. Gender?
Does the same account for, say, like some of these little garden sheds that you're getting to 8 by 10 little tin sheds? Does the same rules apply with something like that?
On the garden sheds, no, I don't think.
No, an ancillary building, a CCAN is identified in our land use bylaw as a separate ancillary building. So, I mean, they're used for many purposes, generally storage, but that it does specifically identify CCAN as a discretionary use. Whereas a garden shed, so it would be a permitted use.
Mr. Clark?
Do we have anything in our bylaw about colors or condition? Because you can get a CCAN that is like an off-white or color like that, or you can get them that are multicolors and have things painted all over the sides of them. And so it would be two different things, maybe sitting in a yard though too. Like we asked for pictures of mobile homes and stuff, and it's gonna be for 5-year period, it should be something that kind of fits in.
We'd have that condition that they paint to camouflage it, if you will.
Yeah, because some of them look pretty, they can look pretty rough or they can look fairly reasonable. Yeah.
So to put that condition in place that it meets approval of the county's development officer is something you would like to have to fit in?
In a resident, like in a
For this particular one, would you like to see that as a condition? It's can be subjective and a little tough to sometimes put forward, but I think if there is something that is, if it becomes controversial, you can always bring it back to MPC to have that. They have that option, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that it meets county approval for, I'm just trying to word it for Marlene. Yeah, that it meets county's aesthetics as determined by the development officer. Thank you. Does that work for you, Marlene? Okay, as one of the conditions? Okay. Mr. Clark,
I'll make that motion with those conditions.
with those conditions. Are we clear? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? I have 2 opposed, Mr. Grover and Mr. Stevens. That motion is carried then. Okay, 6.3, development permit 22059.
This was the
This
application.
is
that
part
was-
of your handout.
Yes. So the applicant is proposing to construct an 1,848 square foot ancillary building on the southeast of 174019, west of the 4th. A development permit application for a permitted use detached dwelling on the subject property is being processed simultaneously with this discretionary use application. Section 92(3) of the land use bylaw provides for an ancillary building with a floor area greater than 1,500 square feet as a discretionary use in agricultural district. Section 4310 stipulates a maximum floor area of 3,000 square feet. The proposed location of the ancillary building exceeds the minimum rear and side yard setback requirements of the land use bylaw. Access to the properties by means of an existing joint approach off of Highway 56. As the front yard setback from the building to Highway 56 is greater than 300 meters, a roadside development permit from Alberta Transportation is not required. The overall height of the proposed building is approximately 20 feet, which complies with the maximum height of 22 feet to the eave or parapet of requirements of the bylaw. It is an aerial sketch showing the location of the.
So the one question I have is we do have a caveat on this property for something to do with the tower, or it's one of the highest points in the county of Steller, isn't it? There's something, you remember that, Yvette?
Is there a tower on it now?
No, Andrew used to talk about this because when it sold, I think he was mentioning that we had to have a caveat on it back, ways back. Yeah, it's not a big deal. I just want to make sure that that doesn't affect what we're doing there. So, access to it. I think it's just caveat to have access to it for some reason. That had to do with that emergency system. But since it didn't pop up, I'm not sure that it's something to worry about. Okay. Any questions or concerns, Mr. Ernie Gender?
I'll move it as presented, please.
Okay. No questions, concerns? Seeing none. All those in favor? You two having a conversation, Paul and Ernie are in favor of this?
I'd like to revoke that one, Mr. McKay. I'm overstepping my bounds.
That's fine. We're going forward with it. It's been voted on. So, did you catch that? It was all in favor, Marlene. I don't care who does it. Just get her done, boys. Okay. 7.1 subdivision. Page 29 of your package. Who are we going to?
Would be me.
All right.
Here. If we can flip to page 35, please. So the proposed subdivision is to create a 26.04 acre parcel from a previously unsubdivided quarter section that is located approximately 18 kilometers south of Botha. The property abuts Highway 593 to the north and Range Road 18-3 to the east. The proposed parcel would encompass the existing farmstead that includes the residence, shop, barns, corrals, a dugout, as well as the existing open discharge system and some additional pasture land to the east. The remainder of the quarter section is vacant. The MDP policy stipulates the preferred maximum size of farmstead removal to be the size required to accommodate the farmstead, which in this case would be 16 acres. The MDP also provides flexibility to approve a parcel that exceeds the preferred maximum size for reasons including that the additional land is required for agricultural operations. And in this case, the additional land to the east of the farmstead is intended for continued use in conjunction with the farmstead for horse training purposes. Administration recommends consideration for the existing setup of the farmstead and the intent to continue existing agricultural pursuits on the property. Administration finds that the proposal is in line with the MDP's intent to promote a range of rural lifestyle options within the county. Allowing the parcel to abut the county road also allows for future access possibilities if Alberta Transportation ever decides to remove the direct highway access onto Highway 593. In consideration of the Rural Development Fund, policies require a Rural Development Fund contribution for any acre of land above the 16 acres that are required to accommodate the farmstead. And as such, in this case, we would be looking at a contribution of $10,040. The intent of the Rural Development Fund contribution is really to discourage the conversion of agricultural land for non-agricultural purposes. So, and the policies also allow flexibility to either reduce the contribution or waive them entirely. And in this case, administration notes that the additional land east of the farmstead would allow substantial space for continued agricultural operation in conjunction with the farmstead as it is now. And consideration to waive the Rural Development Fund contribution is recommended. And in conclusion, the recommendation to approve the subdivision, in conclusion, the recommendation is to approve the subdivision subject to the 4 standard conditions, one of which would be road dedication along Range Road 18-3. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, so there's no CFO attached to this, right?
No, there is not.
Okay, and you said 183, that's already got the full right of way on it?
No, that would, one of the conditions would be to have that 5-meter strip of land along the entire length of the quarter section taken.
Fair enough. Any questions, concerns, Mr. Stolberg?
I will move it, but I do have a question. I think I seen in the notes, there was a concern about a caveat. Does that transfer to the acreage or just remain with the remainder of the quarter?
It would transfer, so it would be on both titles.
Okay, well, then I will move this for approval with the conditions. And one of the conditions was the waiving of the road.
That would be one of the notes that would be.
So I just have a question to that more than anything. So in this case where that, now there's a caveat on that piece, will there be 2 caveats, and who pays to put those on? Is that the developer?
It would remain as the same caveat, but it would be registered on both titles.
And who pays for that registration? Would that be the
It
developer?
would be Craig.
Yes, if there's a payment at all, that is the applicant when they submit to land titles.
Oh, okay, so maybe there may not be a caveat added to it then?
So land titles default is any caveats that are existing. Once you can, as a person that has a caveat, you have to consent to the registration of the plan. They automatically roll forward onto the new titles unless you also submit a discharge. So the person that has a caveat can also submit the piece of paperwork that says, I don't need it on that title anymore.
Okay.
And only under those circumstances, when it's for a subdivision registration, would the caveat not carry forward onto the new titles.
And this would be Alberta Transportation.
Sorry, I think
That would be the caveat that's associated with the gas co-op.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, Mr. Stevens, question.
Just clarification about waiving the rural development fund. So once we hypothetically approve this, yes, the parcel's large enough to be used for agricultural now, but are we giving up that if they choose to not use it for agricultural in the future? Is that a concern, or I guess that would accompany another application at that point if they wanted to change the use?
Yes, so if they were to rezone it, they would have to come in with an application, but if they were to, they could probably put another house right there if they wanted to without an application for rezoning. So at that point, you wouldn't be able to take rural development fund contribution unless it was subdivided again.
Mr. Chairman, I think at the size of 26 acres, if they were to come in and create a 5-acre parcel out of that, there'd still be 21. So it'd probably back up for reconsideration.
Okay. Mr. Gender?
I've got very much concerns with something like that, because we had subdivided one north of town here, probably I think it was about 50 acres, and they had to pay the fund on that one there. So if we let one go here, And just a couple of years ago, we did one very close to that, and they had to pay also on it. I then find that this is kind of a precedent setting of where we're gonna be, it's not a slope I'm willing to go down. I'm more for the contribution.
So instead of going forward with this, I'd like to get an idea, consensus. What is everybody else's, Mr. Paul?
Yeah, I'm not for it.
Okay, and Mr. Clark?
For consistency on other ones we put through, I feel it should be a contribution too.
Okay, Mr. Grover? Okay, and Mr. Stevens. So, Mr. Stolberg, since we have a general consensus, are you willing to make a, amendment to that? And
Yeah,
drop that and?
I'm willing to amend the motion to drop that condition of waiving the rural development fund and put it in as it's due.
Okay, okay. Is that clear to administration? That we would seek the rural development fund still? Okay, and that's, okay, so now, go ahead, Jacinta, sorry.
So the rural development fund is calculated on the preferred size of the parcel. So would that be determined as 10 acres then? Because that would be the cutoff. Anything over 10, the rural development fund would be applicable.
And that's typically what we've done in the past, and I think from the board's decision, I think they want to be consistent from one to the next. So since we've done that in the past, we would like to continue that into the future by the sound. Okay. Yeah,
So for this one, we did determine that the farmstead would, could be accommodated within 16 acres
okay.
rather than the 10 acres because there's
So
additional.
anything over 16 acres would be the rural development.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what, and, okay.
That's not how we've done it in the past, so just to be clear, because we've cut it off at 10. Anything over 10, regardless of the actual size of the parcel. So maybe we just should look back at some of,
16.
10 would be the.
So with, okay, let me get the handle on this. So, in this particular parcel, anything over 10, how much money are they going to pay?
$16,000 for 26.
And if we went with the 16 acres, they would pay $10,000. What is the board's thought on this? I'm gonna go start with Mr. Stevens and then I'm gonna go to Mr. Grove.
My thoughts are, if we base it off the farmstead instead of the 10 acres, that farmstead, they're not gonna remove the farm shop or something, or the shelter belts and start farming it. So I don't think we lose any arable land if we cut it off at the farmstead.
So you're saying 16 and then anything over 16, okay? Mr. Grover.
Heaven forbid, I agree with him. Okay, I will.
Okay,
That's the farmstead. That's the farmstead side. You're not getting any more arable farmland out of it.
okay.
So just, I guess you're just charging the 10 grand.
16 plus, okay, I'm seeing consistency and the shaking of heads.
There's one also we did a month ago, and then, but they had to move the sewage outlet to accommodate it. So did they have the same information back then, saying, okay, they could have extended it out and not have to worry about the pump out system?
It doesn't include sewers, it's farmstead. It's basically what I think we do is shelter belt, farm buildings, help me out here, that makes the determination, and
Shelter belt,
Yeah,
and fence lines, so.
shelter belt, water, well,
well, and for some of the more recent ones that we had brought before you, those were, we had to extend the parcel size beyond the farmstead to accommodate the sewage system. And anything that is, the parcel that's being enlarged, that portion of it, if it is just purely for the sake of accommodating the open discharge, then we would charge the rural development fund based on that.
And the reason behind that is in the sewer system, you could have a pump out system, you could have a open discharge, or you could have a field system. All three of those are options that you have. Sometimes it doesn't make common sense to move a shelter belt. So, okay, there isn't a lot of option in moving a shelter belt.
Thanks for the clarification.
Okay, so now to recap this, we are going to go ahead with Rural Development Fund over 16 in the consideration of the parcel being 16 acres of farmstead. Anything over and above that, we're going to charge them, which will make it at roughly $10,000, give or take. Okay. Marlene, are you good with that? And Mr. Stolberg, you're okay with the motion going forward, is that?
That's exactly what I said.
Okay, then I will call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Moving on to 7.2. Who's taking this one?
That's me as well.
46, and then whatever page you would like us to go to.
Go to page 53, please. All right, so this subdivision is to create a 5.31 acre parcel from an unsubdivided quarter section that is located approximately 6 kilometers south of the hamlet of Erskine. The property abuts Range Road 21-4 to the east and Highway 12 to the south. The proposed subdivision is for a vacant parcel, and the parcel encompasses rolling terrain with the north and southeast portions of the parcel being at higher elevations and the center and western portions being of lower laying land. The proposed parcel also encompasses a small wetland within kind of the western corner, and the configuration was chosen to avoid having to run farm equipment through some of the low-lying areas that are located within the northeast section of the quarter section. If we can flip to page 54. You can see kind of that discoloration where it's a bit brown. That's kind of that lower lying area that they want to try to avoid. The MDP stipulates a preferred maximum bare parcel size of 5 acres, and the wetland located within the proposed parcel is approximately 0.4 acres in size itself. And therefore, the proposed parcel does not take farmland in excess of those 5 acres out of agricultural production, because we do have that wetland already on site. As such, the administration finds that the proposal meets the intent of the MDP provisions. In terms of roads and access, Range Road 21-4 to the east still requires road widening of approximately 5 meters, and there is currently no approach to the proposed parcel, but the applicant has proposed their location to be approximately 95 meters south of the northern quarter section boundary. The remainder does already have an existing approach of the Range Road. Regarding the Rural Development Fund, although the proposed parcel is slightly over the 5 acres that are exempt from the Rural Development Fund contribution, administration recommends consideration to waive the fee for the remaining 0.31 acres. And that would be just to accommodate the fact that there is a wetland that is 0.4 acres in size on the property. And that would be consistent with some of the more recent applications that were made where the presence of wetlands were taken out of the Rural Development Fund calculation. And in conclusion, administration recommends approval of the subdivision just based on with those standard conditions that we typically put on.
So, just a one quick question. We did one in Mr. McKay's area, where there was a wetland and then there was a building site issue. Is there any concerns with this one as far as building site that you guys see that would have issue with having a pump out system, et cetera, et cetera? This all accommodates that?
So in this case, they wouldn't be able to accommodate like an open discharge system just because the parcel size itself is too small, but the applicant is aware of that and they have proposed a different system that requires smaller setbacks. And they are able to accommodate both a building site and a septic system within kind of that center portion of the parcel.
Yeah, just setbacks from the wetland was an issue, I think, on that particular. Mr. Stevens? I'll let Mr. Stevens go and then okay.
I actually had the same concern, so now that that's been answered, I will move this forward with staff recommendations.
Okay. Jacinta, you had a question?
Just the applicant, I believe, is still on the line if you had any questions regarding this.
It's pretty straightforward. We've got this. I don't see anybody, but that's.
Okay, sorry. He was there and I think I told him it might be later, so he probably not.
Okay. No other questions or concerns? I'm seeing none. I will call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay. We're going on to 8.1, referral, Summer Village of White Sands. Who's taking this one? Page 59.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a referral that we received from the Summer Village of White Sands pursuant to the Buffalo Lake Intermunicipal Development Plan, which requires any subdivision application to be referred to the member municipalities. The Buffalo Lake IDP identified 492 existing development units within the Summer Village of White Sands. We adopted the document in February 10, 2021. The Buffalo Lake IDP stimulates a maximum amount of 505 development units for the Summer Village of White Sands. So the proposal is to create 3 new lots of the plan number. And we've identified that the map that is attached with the referral does not seem to align with the legal description in the document. There just seems to be some confusion as to what.
Can you explain that a little bit further? I'm just.
Craig, if you would like to.
Yes, that's exactly the exhibit that I think we need. So graphically, well, actually, first off, in the header of the paper references Lot 8, Block 7, Plan 022-3414. And where you see those brown proposed parcels identified in the exhibit that's up in front of you, you can see from the spin information that's actually coming from Plan 172-3375. This diagram you're looking at comes from a digital system. This is not the equivalent of a registered plan. It's a composite that they use for people to have a search engine to be able to check. And this is not a replacement for the actual copies of any registered plans. So what we're not certain of is which is incorrect, the text and legal in the referral letter or the graphic that's been sent attached to that. To the immediate right of where you see the brown cubes identified, you see Plan 022-3414. And when we check on that using the same computer system we're able to access, they comes up as Lot 9, and we were not able to quickly locate Lot 8. So that's what we mean by there seems to be a discrepancy in terms of which is it in terms of its location, which may or may not have a bearing on the comments that the commission wishes to offer. In addition, we get a sense of the number of parcels being created. We're inferring about the relevant size and dimensions because none of that information is available in any of the referral. So assuming the parcel size of 6 acres or so is right in the letter, which is the bulk of Lot 31 there shown graphically is much different than 6 acres. You can maybe assume that there's somewhere between 2 to 2.25 acres per parcel where labeled 1, 2, and 3 across the screen. So that is what we meant by the discrepancies.
Okay.
Maybe just to add to Craig's comments, I used the legal description in the letter to determine the parcel size. There wasn't a size provided. So there could be some, it could be larger, it could be not as large.
I'm hesitant on this one. If they're not going to give us information, I realize they are a small summer village with maybe less than stellar capacity, but at the same time, that doesn't give them a out. I think in the last subdivision that we asked for a total of the amount of parcels to get an idea where they're at. We have no idea if they're over or underbuilt. So did we ever get a reply to that letter?
No, we did not. But what we had requested was how many guest suites and additional development units on a parcel, not, well, I mean, would be equivalent to the development units, but the letter was worded that they would provide the number of guest suites and whether it was included in their total development units that we have.
So my go forward on this is, if we say we're okay with them doing 3 parcels and we find out that it is at 600 and 601 and 602, is that us saying, oh yeah, we're okay with you overbuilding? And without knowing that information, how do we make an informed decision to say, if this was 601 and 602 and 603, there would be, in my opinion, I would be saying that we need to have 690 appeal on this because I don't think they are able to do that. So without all the information, how do we, they're referring to us, but they're not giving us all the information. Mr. Clark?
I'm just wondering though, from that IDB process, if we should have everyone that comes in with something like this does show what we have for existing dwelling units, secondary suites. And therefore, whoever else is reviewing it knows where we sit within the IDP. Because it is kind of a crapshoot, especially when we don't really know even what parcel it's going to be sitting on. So I don't think we should be giving our recommendations back to accept them.
Well, the recommendation should be very much not a recommendation, but a request for more information. And we see the inconsistency of this. We see the fact that we're not getting the full information. And thirdly, that we need to know how many units you actually have so that we can go ahead and say, this is okay. Yeah, we're okay with it. Mr. Stolberg, go ahead.
Well, I'll make the motion that we return to White Sands for clarification with the legal address and the diagram to clarify which is the correct. Also request where they're at with their numbers on their development units, yeah. So we know what we're approving.
Can we add to that too, in that letter, that we asked for the actual physical lot size? Because we're
the size.
we're not even sure where it's at. And if it is what they say, if that's 6 acre parcels, that pretty much eats 31. If 31 is the one that they're taking up, this is a lot of ifs that are going forwards. Is there anything else that we should be asking that you can think of, Jacinta? Craig? Okay. Are we all in agreement on that, Miss? We're looking, saying, okay, so I will call the question. All those in favor, send a letter. Okay. Marlene, did you get that? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So can I ask just for information purposes, under the IDP, they can just go ahead with, if they did the referral to us, but whether or not they give us information, they can still go ahead with the subdivision without any questions or concerns, or how does it go forward now?
Well, we do have a time period where we need to respond, give them feedback. So,
But if we respond and they don't care about our response, they could still go ahead and.
as I understand, I don't think there's any rebuttal here.
Mr. Chairman, we'd have to maybe go back and check the exact terminology in the IDP. A 690 appeal would not apply to a subdivision.
Okay.
It would apply to land use bylaw up. Nonetheless, your IDP may still give you an opportunity to say if we have a difference of opinion on the implementation item, it may lead to the committee discussion and the issue resolution process that's in that document.
So, gentlemen, would it be advised for us to have administration bring back something to us? This seems to be a reoccurring situation. I would like to know what our options, because for my own education, I don't know what that is to happen. I would like administration to bring back and explain to us the process of what happens when it goes forward, just so that I'm better informed. Mr. Gender?
A couple of meetings ago back in council, I requested that our administration send a letter to them that we would like to have a meeting with them based on the ICS. And as far as I know now, like, we have not been able to find the time nor to be able to do it, but I would like to continue with that.
And I totally agree. That's a council issue. But going forward here, I think what I would like us to see is, I think we need to be a little, as a municipal planning commission, it would be better for us to be a little bit more informed on that. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. Mr. Stevens, can I get you to make a motion that administration brings back some more information on?
I'll make the motion that we instruct administration to bring back clarifications as to IDP referrals and path forward on that.
Does that work for administration?
Like the dispute resolution outlined in the.
Generally what the next steps are, how it would work, I guess.
So you're just looking at the Buffalo Lake IDP or IDP in general, or?
Buffalo Lake IDP.
We're not usually on this end. Okay, all those in favor? That is carried. 8.2, who's taking this one? Okay.
Wondering if we would like to postpone this one until after our in-camera session. We have another item coming forward.
Okay. We will do that.
Instead of breaking.
Okay, so we'll go to 8.3. Everybody's okay with moving that? I'm seeing nodding in the heads, so we're good. Okay, 8.3. This one, I'm going to entertain listening to Mr. Stevens on this one.
This person has contacted me and there is some extenuating circumstances. But it is important, in my opinion, to note that in their correspondence, they have seemed very willing to comply. They have asked for some time in order to comply. And there was two parts, the trailers and the permitting on that side, as well as the lack of maintenance on the yard. Upon getting notified of this, it is important to note that within 24 hours, they had someone out there mowing. And this speaks to me that they want to comply. They are currently out of the province. There is some extenuating circumstances. So I am in favor of granting them some leniency on the time frame to comply, but not removing the onus to bring it into work.
So what I'm hearing is you'd like to bring this back so we could table it to what meeting?
I believe that September would be ample time.
So that'd be a motion from you?
That is my motion.
All right, Marlene, you got that? Okay, any questions, concerns, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay. Old business. Old business. Go ahead, Jacinta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have received the notice of decision from the NRCB regarding an unpermitted pen that has an existing CFO operation on the southeast of 53718 west of the forest. It was deemed approved, and as well, there was a portion that was considered grandfathered in on a permit that had been issued on July 23rd, 2008. So there was no increase in the herd. They're just seeking approval for their existing operation.
Okay. Again, I don't know if there's much we can do with this. This is a receipt for information. Mr. Grover?
Receive it for information, it's my area.
Okay.
But I guess you just build a feedlot and then you come and apply for it.
Well, to that end, just to have that discussion, I think we had talked about doing some advocacy about this whole NRCB situation because
Because we don't have any.
we don't have any say. I mean, other than if it meets our land use bylaw, they're short of putting a feedlot in the middle of Nevis, I think you're good to go. Even then. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
CEO.
previous to COVID, the county of Stettler was selected to participate in kind of like some public consultation done by the NRCB. Just sent to Rich and I think Andrew at the time sat in on it, and then with COVID, it kind of lapsed. And I think we were requested to sit in on it because we had been kicking up a bit of a fuss about a few developments. So they wanted to know, what they could do better. And we gave them quite a few things to talk about, but we haven't heard back from them. So I don't know where that committee is standing now, especially after COVID, but, we can try and research it out.
I think if, with permission, I think we should be definitely following up with that. And also, I still do think that we need to bring, and I don't know if it's a full-out resolution to the RMA, but we need to have somewhere where we can have a discussion about the ills of this. And I don't know what route that takes, but Mr. Stover, go ahead. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did,
Okay.
but I thought that was ahead of me.
No, you were it.
Yeah,
And then there's Mr. Grove.
and there is a point too where you gotta be careful what you wish for, because, I mean, we don't want too much stuff probably downloaded onto us either, so when they are handling these things, I mean, it's a fine line there. We definitely need say on some key things, but, other stuff we don't maybe want to be dealing with all these things that are there.
Fair point, Mr. Grover.
I think I was there when we actually, we made the decisions on this and NRCB sort of followed along. And, I got one beside me that, basically they were pouring the forms for the hog barn because it had been approved before for our development, got a notice of it, and now there's 10,000 pigs extra up on top of that hill. And the water wells, some of them flow right to the top of the surface, so I'm a little, the chance of getting a aquifer that's of no value, got lots of water, but of no value to drink or to use. Yeah, it affects us, and I think we should have it a long time before the forms for the pig barn or the cow barn or the whatever. And when NRCB took it over, it's like all the neighbors there said, well, they were already building it when they sent the letter out to us. And like I told that guy, yeah, well, it doesn't bother. Like we got this here and we got that there and that for you. I said, well, it's a long ways from that pig barn to Lethbridge. Probably don't even smell it from there, but I think we should have more input into them. I realize there may be a bit of pain in the butt, but at least we'd have representing our ratepayers. And our ratepayers on that barn there are never going to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Solid point, Mr. Gender.
Well, I definitely want to have a meeting with them because I just find that they're very strict on, say, like when we have a pump out system, where when it comes to, say, like a manure lagoon, our most precious commodity is our groundwater around here, unless we're hooked into the pipeline. But no, I definitely want to have a meeting with them.
It seems to me that we wrote a letter to, did we write a letter to the,
No, Red Willow colony?
yeah, but we wrote a letter to the minister, that was an environment minister and ag minister? Who did we write the letters to? Do you remember?
Yes, sir. Nikki, I think you had sent.
And I can't remember the response, but I think it was, or did we even, I don't think we got one from Alberta Environment. Anyways, okay, so this one, I guess it's received for information, not a lot we can do. It's a standard. Dave's already got that, but I think good to have that discussion. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay. Next, in camera, Mr. McKay is taking us in camera. All those in favor? Sorry, Larry, I was looking at it. The way it looks is he put his hand up. It was your hand he was putting up.
Did you go to vote?
What's that?
Yes.
Yes, we're going in camera. I was looking. That is carried. Okay, we need to go back to 8.2, ladies and gentlemen, page 62, and I will have Jacinta give us the go down on page 62. Is it Jacinta that's doing this one?
We have a purchaser of lot, prospective purchaser, is not a lot 1, block 3, plan 162-3372 within the Erskine East subdivision. They are requesting approval to install a second approach to the subject property off of Johnson Street in order to construct a detached ancillary building north of the detached dwelling on the property. We had identified Johnson Street as an arterial road with access to the internal streets within the subdivision. An existing approach off Pearl Avenue was constructed for access to the site following the issuance of a development permit for a manufactured home and detached ancillary building on January 31st, 2018. The original site plan indicated the proposed location of a detached ancillary building at the southeast side of the property. However, the current owner did not pursue the construction of the garage on the site as noted on the site plan. A civic address has been assigned to the property, which is 12 Pearl Avenue. An approach application for the existing approach off Pearl Avenue was not found on file. Upgrades to the existing approach may be required to comply with county's approach standards, including paving to align with the future road structure for the subdivision. The county's operations department has indicated the requirement for pavement of the approaches may be deferred until such time as the municipal streets are paved in the subdivision. So just if you scroll down, you will see where they are proposing to put a second approach off of Johnson Street and the current approach off Pearl Avenue.
Mr. Stevens?
I will make the motion that we reject the application process off of Johnson Street. And I will follow through with staff recommendations that we allow deferral of the paving until such time that we complete our paving.
Okay. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Opposed. Mr. Clark and Mr. Stolberg. You got that, Marlene? Okay. It's July. Oh, Mr. Who do we have? Doug is online still.
Yeah, wondering what he.
Can you unmute him?
Yeah.
Doug, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Did you have any questions for us, Doug? Who am I? Doug?
Doug Lecture.
Oh, Doug. Okay, so just to let you know that if you're talking about your subdivision, it was approved and everything went forward, no issues.
Okay, well, thank you. I got booted off a few times, so I had difficulty getting back on. So.
Yeah, fair enough. And I saw you were patiently waiting through our in-camera session, and I apologize. We tried to reach out to you, but it doesn't always work the way we want. So.
No, I understand. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye for now.
So our next meeting is July the 26th of 2022. Everybody can make that date. Everybody put it in your calendars.
Just to be clear, that is this is on Tuesday, not the Wednesday, as the ASB meeting will be held in the morning on that date.
So we're going on a Tuesday because of you. ASB's moving?
Because of Quentin.
Oh, so it's not because of you.
No.
We didn't say it was your fault.
So everybody mark that. Did that go to our council calendars? Okay. All right. So everybody clear with that it's going to be a Tuesday instead of Wednesday? I think we can all handle that. Mr. Grover?
We're out of here.
Give the motion to adjourn to Mr. Grover. All in favor?